Elden Ring is a game notorious for not telling you what to do. You often gain items or pieces of information which seem really valuable, but they never give you any direction of what to do with it. And one thing that you may have noticed are these great runes. If you've just killed your first major boss of the game, Godric the Grafted, you would have received his great rune, but have no idea what to do with it, even though it looks pretty cool. Well, in this video, I'm going to go over exactly how these great runes work, how you can activate them, how you can use them for temporary buffs which can be really beneficial, and how the remembrances work, which can either get you new weapons from these bosses, or a lot of extra runes. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. For now though, let's get into it. Now, as you search through Elden Ring, you'll come across lots of bosses with varying difficulty and varying importance to the actual game story. However, some of these bosses are big major bosses within the game, either crucial to the story or important optional side quests you can do that will grant you a great rune and a remembrance. You would have seen this with Godric the Grafted, the very first demigod boss that you fight in Stormveil Castle. He will drop you a great rune and a remembrance of the Grafted. I'm going to firstly focus on how the great rune works itself, but I'll talk about the remembrance later and tell you how you can use that to get either really cool weapons or how you can use it for a bunch of extra runes. When you first get the great rune, you get it in a deactivated form, and the only way that you're going to get any benefit out of it is if you head to a divine tower to activate this rune. Now, each great rune has its own divine tower that you have to find to activate it. Taking Godric as an example, his one is right next to him in the Stormveil Castle, located here on the map. You head across the bridge, you head up the tower, and you'll see the area where you're meant to activate the great rune. Now, as I said, each great rune has its own divine tower located generally close to the boss you fought it at for you to be able to activate it, so make sure you head to the right one to activate the right rune you're looking for. But now that you've activated the great rune, you have to head to one of the lost grace sites and scroll down, and you should see a great rune section. Taking Godric's as an example, he gives you an attribute boost to every single stat, and this comes in the form of +5 to all of your stats: vigor, stamina, mind, strength, dexterity, etc, etc. But just because you've activated the great rune and applied it in this slot doesn't mean you get the benefit from it all of the time. The only way to actually use these great runes and gain the benefit that you've equipped is to use something called a rune arc. This is a consumable item which gives you a temporary benefit of that rune. So just before you go into a major fight, you may pop a rune arc to gain the benefit from whatever your equipped great rune is. For example, as I'm fighting some of the later bosses here, I pop my great rune of Godric firsthand, so I gain an additional buff to all of my stats, and that really helps me as I move through this fight. Especially early game, Godric's is really good because that +5 in every stat has a lot of weight in the health, dexterity, stamina, mind, and all these other attributes which are already normally pretty low because it's early game. So if you actually want to use the great rune you've equipped, you have to use a rune arc. And there are different ways you can get rune arcs. You can scavenge them throughout the world. They're pretty rare, but you will come across some. You can get them by successfully invading another player and beating them. That will give you a rune arc as well. Or if you don't really want to get into the PvP side of things, but you do like co-op, whenever you go into your friend's world and help them kill a boss, you are able to get a rune arc as well upon completing that boss. You are also able to buy them from merchants and other vendors throughout the game. So that's how the great runes work. That is how you activate them and use them to actually get the benefit from them within your game. But once you kill your bosses as well, you also get remembrance from them, and you can do things with this as well. There's 3 things you can do with these remembrance. The first is that you can go to the round table and talk to what I'm calling the Oracle of the Two Fingers, and she will allow you to trade it in for a weapon that has something to do with the boss that you fought. So with the Remembrance of the Grafted, which is the one you get from Godric, you can either trade this in for Godric's Great Axe, or you can trade it in for the Grafted Dragon, which is in the second phase of his fight, the dragon hand that spews fire everywhere. Some of these cost a few extra runes to be able to purchase them, but you trade in your remembrance for one of these items. The second thing you can do with these remembrance is, if you don't really like any items that are on offer, as I didn't like with Renala's, you can just use them. Go into your inventory, click the use button on them, and it gives you 20,000 runes. So if you want a little rune boost, that's a really good way of doing it, especially if you don't care about the items that are on offer. And then the third thing that you can do with them is you can actually duplicate them. So if you actually want both weapons, you have an option to go do this as well. The places where you duplicate them are actually the big walking mausoleums that you see. These mausoleums look like big walking elephant turtle type things with a building situated on top of them, and you'll be able to hear the bell of them moving as they walk around. The first easy one of these mausoleums to find is actually in the Weeping Peninsula just south of Limgrave. You'll see him walking around in this location here, and if you wax the skulls off 2 of his feet, it will crumble to the ground and you can enter the mausoleum to duplicate your remembrance. Some mausoleums require you to knock the skulls off their feet in this way, others actually require you to find a unique and interesting way to get up there yourself and then knock skulls off the top to enter the door. Either way, you have to knock these things down, then you go inside, you'll see a body with no head, you interact with it. The first time you do it, it'll give you a warning saying you can only duplicate remembrance once at these sites, so every mausoleum has only one duplication available, and then it's no longer active. So duplicate the remembrance you want, and then once you've done that, you can head back to the first or second option. Either you trade it in for the other weapon, or you use it for another 20,000 runes. Either way, that is how you use the remembrance. Okay guys, that sums up how you use the remembrance, how you use the great runes in Elden Ring. They don't explain anything to you, so I'm going to be here to explain it for you as I go through my Elden Ring journey as well. If you want to catch in with that Elden Ring journey, head to twitch.tv/RADTHARGAMING where you can see my playthroughs live over there. I'm just about to complete the game and do the final parts myself, and then I'm going to do a new game plus through, so you'll be able to see it from scratch all again. For more Elden Ring content, check out the videos here on the screen. Other than that guys, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll catch you in the next one.